remain orderly throughout the event, and please do not leave this room throughout the event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, Rahayu. To the Honorable Profesor Dr. Tony Toharudin SSI MSc, Head of the Policy Standards, Curriculum and Assessment Agency, Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education of the Republic Indonesia. Dr. Muhammad Yusro SPD MPD, Secretary Agency for Primary and Secondary Education Policy, Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, Republic Indonesia. Profesor Dr. Yu Khadijah SAG MSI, Director of Curriculum, Facilities, Institutional Development and Student Affairs for Madrasah, Ministry of Religious Affairs of the Republic Indonesia. Dr. Anis Mashkur MA, the Head of the Subdirectorate of Equivalency Education, Directorate of Diniyah Education and Islamic Boarding Schools, Ministry of Religious Affairs of the Republic Indonesia. Profesor Dr. Jamhari Ma'ruf, Rector of Universitas Islam International Indonesia. Catherine Dene, Chief of Education, UNICEF Indonesia. Suhaini Kudus, Education Specialist, UNICEF Indonesia. Distinguished University Senate, Deans, Faculty Members, Lecturers, and academic staff of Universitas Islam International Indonesia. Also esteemed speakers, panelists, scholars, researchers, practitioners, colleagues, and all respected participants. On behalf of the university, my name is Rahayu, and it is since an honor for me to serve as your Master of Ceremony for this afternoon program. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, every child has the right to learn, grow, and participate meaningfully in the society. But not every child's learning journey follows the same path. Some children face financial, social, geographic, and structural barriers that keep them outside the formal school system. If education is to be truly inclusive, our policies, institutions, and learning pathway must become more flexible, more adaptive, and more responsive to the realities of the learners. It is within this spirit that we are gathering today for the Policy Discussions Forum and soft launching the Institute of Transformative Education and Society, UIII ITES, under the theme Flexible Education for Out-of-School Children, Indonesia, and Global Perspectives. To commence today's ceremony, let us rise and stand up for Indonesia's national anthem, Indonesia Raya.
Jangan
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Before we proceed further, let us take a moment to begin this forum with a prayer. May our dialogue lead to meaningful insights, stronger collaborations, and positive contributions to the advancements of education and society. To lead us in a prayer, I respectfully invite Ustadz Dias Ataya. Ustadz Dias Ataya, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to lead the prayers. Please raise our hands and bring the presence of our hearts for the prayers. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan shakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وكريمنا وذخرنا ومولانا محمد وسلم رضي الله تبارك وتعالى عن سادتنا أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعن الصحابة رسول الله أجمعين ومن التابعين وتابعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم ارزقنا فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما نافعا. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أمورنا وأخلقنا بالحلم. اللهم اجعل هذا الجمع جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا معانا شقيا ولا مرحوما. ربنا هب لنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praises be to the God, the Lord of the worlds, who has granted us countless blessings and the precious opportunity to gather here today. O Almighty God, we stand before you today with hearts full of gratitude for the gift of health, life, and also privilege of education. We ask for your blessings upon this educational event. Please bless our students, our educators, our leaders, and everyone who has contributed to making this event possible. O Lord, the all-knowing, grant us useful knowledge and wisdom, illuminate our minds, open our hearts, and guide our steps so that we may understand the truth of this world. Let the knowledge we gain today not only make us smarter, but also wiser, humbler, and more compassionate human beings who can bring positive change to our society. O Lord, the giver of strength, grant us patience, perseverance to overcome the challenges in our academic journeys. Bless our teachers and instructors with continuous passion, patience, and wisdom to guide us toward a brighter future. O Lord, the most merciful, we pray you bless this gathering. May our presence here today be filled with harmony, inspiration, and unity. Guide us throughout this event so that everything we do aligns with your good will. O Lord, grant us good in this world and good in the hereafter, and protect us from the torment of the hellfire. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ustadz Dias Ataya. We express our heartfelt gratitude to you, Ustadz, for leading us the prayer. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now proceed to the soft launching the Institute of Transformative Education and Society, UIII ITES. For the first welcoming remarks, it is my honor to respectfully invite Irsad Samjani, PhD, the Director Center for Education Standard and Policy, Ministry of Education and Culture, Republik Indonesia. Professor Irsad Samjani, PhD, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guest, Honorable Rector of Universitas Islam Indonesia, International Indonesia, Professor Jamhari, esteemed leadership, faculty members, and students of UIII. I can see many prominent and familiar faces here, but my apologies not mentioning everyone with all due respect. Their colleagues, researchers, and participants, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all of you. First of all, I would like to convey the warmest regards from the head of the Agency for Primary and Secondary Education Policy, or BKPDM, Professor Tony Toharudin, due to an urgent and unavoidable meeting with the DPR, with the House of Representatives. He deeply regrets that he cannot join us in person. And therefore, as the head of the Education Standard and Policy Center of the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, it is my honor to stand here on behalf of our leadership. And second of all, I would like to extend our deepest appreciation to Professor Jamhari and the entire leadership of UIII for this wonderful collaboration, as well as to all faculty members and students who have continuously contributed to enriching our education policy discourse. Today also marks a remarkable milestone with the soft launching of the Institute of Transformative Education and Society, ITES. I'd like to congratulate the Institute's core team, Pak Amih, Dr. Amih Al-Humami, Dr. Alfa Amir Rahman, my colleague Dr. Andar Nurbowo, and other colleagues. May this new institute grow to strengthen our collective efforts in building robust, evidence-based education policies in Indonesia. And looking to our panel today, it truly feels like a gathering of esteemed collaborators who share our vision for educational equity. To Pak Anies from Ministry of Religious Affairs, and Bu Eni Suhaini Kudus from UNICEF Indonesia, Bu Cahya, I cannot see Bu Cahya, she's not here, and Bu Ulfa she's not also present. But thank you for participating in this forum. Your continuous engagement and frequent interaction with Kemendikbudristek have always been invaluable to our policymaking journey. Also to my colleague from PSKP, Mbak Esi, who will share insights from PSKP's recent study on the OSCE, out-of-school children in several districts last year. And also very well welcome to Ihsan Imam Zaman, our international student from the Philippines. We are excited to have you here and look forward for the insight you will share regarding the strategies used perhaps in the Philippines to address out-of-school children. And dear colleagues, our discussion today addresses a critical lingering challenges in our education system. Nationally, the number of OSCE, or out-of-school children and youth in Indonesia is still hovering around the 3 million mark. This is not just a statistic. These are 3 million individuals' futures that we must secure. Recognizing the gravity of this issue, the government has recently enacted the Presidential Regulation, or Perpres, number 3 of 2026 on the prevention and handling of out-of-school children. This regulation, this Perpres, serves as a vital legal framework to coordinate and accelerate our mitigation efforts across various stakeholders, linking the central government directly down to the regional and local administration levels. To understand the practical realities on the ground, PSKP conducted a study back in 2025. While this study was conducted prior to the issuance of this new Perpres, and is not directly tied to this regulation, but its findings remain highly relevant. In fact, several key recommendations from that research heavily align with the core principle of the new regulation, particularly regarding the critical importance of multi-stakeholders alignment and the necessity of strengthening local government ownership over the issue. One of the 4 regions studied in 2026 was Banyuwangi, which we will see shortly the video, if I'm not mistaken, on the schedule. Banyuwangi stands out as one excellent blueprint of how a local government can take full ownership of the problem. They have mastered the process, starting from the rigorous data verification, coordinating roles across various local government units, to successfully re-enrolling children back into schools. However, we also must acknowledge that other regions face vastly different structural challenges. This is especially true for our archipelagic and remote island regions, where access and logistics present entirely separate hurdles. Later in the panel, our colleagues perhaps will present the detail of the findings. Distinguished guests and colleagues, effective and transformative policies cannot be drafted in isolation. They require the intellectual rigor of institutions like UIII, the global expertise of partners, and the localized execution of regional governments. I want to thank the organizing committee from both the Kemendikbud and UIII for putting this event together. I look forward to an intellectually stimulating and highly productive discussion. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Irsad Zamjani, PhD, for your insightful remarks and for your continued commitment to advancing quality and inclusive education in Indonesia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, this is now with great pleasure to invite the Honorable Rector, Professor Dr. Jamhari, to deliver his welcoming address to officially launch the Institute of Transformative Education and Society, UIII ITES. Professor Jamhari, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Nalihada wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawan hadana Allah. Assalatu wassalamu asyrafil amjai wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain wa ba'du. Bapak Irsad Zamjani yang saya hormati, Ibu Suhaini Kudus yang saya hormati, Bapak Anies Maskur dari Kementerian Agama yang saya hormati, Ibu Dekan, Sekretaris Universitas, Wakil Rektor, kemudian juga para pimpinan Universitas Islam Internasional, so the Chairman of our Academic Senate, Bapak Rifki Muna, and also friends from the Faculty of Education, Pak Alpha and others, and of course my beloved students. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to our university. It is indeed our pleasure to welcome you in our universities. So, Pak Ershad Zamzani, probably this is your first time to visit our university, but I'm sure that there will be a lot of opportunities for us together to collaborate in some ways in research or education. Secondly, I would like also to congratulate to friends of the Faculty of Education, Bu Dekan, the deans of the Faculty of Education, Pak Alpha, Pak Andar, and also Pak Ame Al-Humami will be the next chairman of the new institute. We are lucky that Pak Ame Al-Humami joined with us because he is such a caliber scholar and indeed a very influential figures and also academician who used to work at the Minister of Development and Planning, Bapenas, and now he retired already and become a full professor at our university, and we are very pleased that Pak Ame Al-Humami is ready and willing to be the chairman of the new institute that we are going to launch today. I'm sure that Pak Ami and friends at the new center, new institute, will advance and also will have a lot of programs, especially on research, also consultancy and doing some trainings to advance our education in many ways that can be done in Indonesia. So thirdly, I would like to also thank you to our students and also participants who participate in this informant conference. I think for students, you may learn from the research that will be presented today. I know that you are coming from many countries, not only from Indonesia, so you may compare this research with research and also condition that happen in your countries. I heard also that one of the students will be presenting your research from the Philippines. I hope that you can compare and also have some insight on our school children that we are going to discuss today. Sorry. And fourthly, I would like also to briefly give some information, especially to our guests, that we are very happy that UIII now is in his 5th years. We start our class 2021, now in our 5th years, and we are very happy that we all have 3 cohorts of our graduates, so almost 300 already graduate in our university, and this year we are very happy that we are going to graduate our new PhD students. And and I can inform you that one of our PhD graduate just examined and passed his examination 3 weeks ago, but he already went to Germany because he got offering from German university to do special works on climate change. So I think it is a good example and also a good commitment and also a good, a good news for you, for our students, that even though our university is quite new, but our quality is cannot be negotiated. So I'm sure that you will be easily get offering job when you graduate from this university. This year, we received, as usual, around 4,500 applicants, and we are happy that around 1,000 of them very good qualification. They are very good thesis proposal and also PhD proposal, and they also have good qualification of GPA, and they also have a good academic background. So 1,000 of them, but unfortunately we can only offer 300 scholarship for them. So hopefully next year or next, we can offer more students to come to study in our university. And from 300 that we are going to accept this year, 10% of them are willing to pay their own tuition fee and their own living costs. So I think this is also a one-step improvement about our university. Hopefully, when you graduate and you get a good employment, then don't forget about your university to donate some small of money token to our university. We already established endowment fund in our university 2 years ago. Then hopefully we can fund our good students in the future. So if you have a fortunate enough that you can donate your money, and please donate to our endowment fund that can be easily found in our university. And I proudly present to you that although already 2 years, we had about almost 400,000 million rupiah. So it's a good number for the start of our endowment. So Pak Irsyad and Bu Suhaini, please provide us opportunities to advance our university, giving opportunities to collaboration, either in research or other programs such as training or konsultasi. And also, of course, Pak Anies, there are a good numbers of programs in both in the Ministry of Religious Affairs and the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. So, and finally, as mentioned by MC, that I have to launch the new institute, that Institute for Transformative Education and Society at UIII. So it is another institute, another center that we established among other centers that are already exist in our university. I can mention some of them. One is the IIFA, Indonesian Institute for Foreign Affairs. This is an institute funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to study international relations and also foreign affairs that we are dealing now. Some weeks ago, we are talking about U.S.-Iranian wars, also the reformation of United Nations, and also international law and so on. So there are many issues that we are doing together and also doing research together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The other is IFA, Institute for Advanced Studies, in cooperation with Northwestern universities. Each year, the Northwestern universities in America funded 2 visiting fellows in our universities doing research. And we are very happy that this year, one of the researchers funded by Northwestern University and myself received a grant from the palm oil company in Indonesia to do research on palm oil company in Kalimantan. So it is a good start. And also in the Faculty of Islamic Studies, we do have a Center for Islam and Globalizing world. Many years has been working with Turkish institutions. So I think we had so many collaboration, international or national collaboration on research and also other programs. So I hope this new institute and we be closely working with the Faculty of Education. I think we'll have more project and more research programs in the future. So stay tuned to our website, to our programs, so that you can monitor and you can see the institute. And thank you, Pak Ameh, for your willingness to be the chairman of the institute. I'm sure that with your expertise, with your experience, you can help us to advance our institute. There are also good good people working together at the institute, like Pak Bahrul Hayat. You know, I think he was the Secretary General of Minister of Religious Affairs and also currently active consultant in the education program of UIII. So I think he has a lot of experience also in doing education. And I heard that he's helping the South Philippines in Mindanao to establish an Islamic schools like what has been developed in Indonesia. So with that, I would like to launch the Institute for Transformative Education and Society by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now I officially launch the Institute. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Jamhari, for your welcoming remarks and to officially launching Institute for Transformative Education and Society UIII ITES. Once again, please give a round of applause to the Institute for Transformative Education and Society UIII ITES. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we enter the panel discussions, we will first watch a short film that brings us closer to the lived realities behind today's policy conversations. The issue of out-of-school children is not only a matter of numbers, systems, or regulations. It is also about children's, families, communities, and local initiatives that continue to search for hope and practical solutions. We will now watch a short film entitled Hope from the Eastern Tip of Java, a best practice in addressing out-of-school children from Banyuwangi. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attentions to the screen.
Ternyata masih ada jutaan anak yang tidak bersekolah karena berbagai alasan.
Kementerian Pendidikan Dasar dan Menengah mengungkapkan ada jutaan anak usia sekolah tidak merasakan bangku sekolah.
Ribuan anak jenjang SD SMP putus sekolah. Kebanyakan penyebab angka putus sekolah diduga lantaran faktor ekonomi dan pernikahan dini.
Pemirsa, kasus anak putus sekolah masih terjadi di Indonesia, padahal seharusnya negara menjamin hak pendidikan setiap anak Indonesia. Anak putus sekolah harus berjuang mendapatkan pendidikan di tengah keterbatasan ekonomi.
Permasalahan anak tidak sekolah atau ATS masih menjadi masalah yang cukup besar bagi perjalanan pendidikan Indonesia. Ada ribuan anak yang terpaksa meninggalkan bangku sekolah. Lantas, bagaimana pemerintah seharusnya bertindak menghadapi kondisi ini? Inilah kisah tentang Banyuwangi, sebuah wilayah yang mengatasi beragam tantangan anak tidak sekolah atau ATS melalui pendataan dan beragam program inovatif.
Ya, alhamdulillah Banyuwangi memang bisa menurunkan angka ATS yang di awal 2024, tepatnya bulan Agustus itu angka ATS kami mencapai 11.000 lebih. Dan dalam bentuk berbagai macam strategi dan intervensi yang kami lakukan, sehingga bisa turun 50% kurang lebihnya hingga mencapai 6.000 di bulan Juni tahun 2025. Hal ini memang menjadi prioritas ya, konsentrasi kami cukup besar untuk menangani ATS karena ini masalah fenomenal di mana kami merasa bahwa setiap anak harus memiliki pendidikan, setidaknya mereka bisa mencapai SMA. Ini merupakan fokus dari program kami untuk bisa menurunkan angka ATS, dan intervensi ini kami lakukan berdasarkan data. Kami merasa bahwa data adalah hal yang paling fundamental yang harus disiapkan untuk bisa kita tindak lanjuti sehingga angka ATS bisa turun, sehingga intervensi kami itu tepat sasaran. ATS yang ada di Kabupaten Banyuwangi ini kita kan tidak tahu ya sebetulnya datanya ada berapa. Kita kan pakai satu data milik Pusdatin. Nah, data Pusdatin itu kami padu-padankan dengan data kami yang ada di lapangan betul-betul secara faktual anak itu ATS. Nah, disinilah kami penting memadukan data, kemudian kami melakukan verifikasi sesuai dengan kondisi yang ada, kemudian kami validasi sehingga data yang lahir setelah verifikasi itu juga merupakan hal yang penting bagi kami untuk melakukan tindak lanjut. Selamat pagi teman-teman sekalian, hari ini kita bersama-sama untuk bisa mengetahui data ATS ya.
Setelah dapat data dari Bukabit berupa data ATS, itu kami menelusuri ada salah satu.
Dengan tingginya angka ATS, akhirnya kami berpikir perlu ada satu inovasi yang bisa menggerakkan kami bersama-sama. Lahirlah Rindu Bulan, yaitu rintisan desa kelurahan tuntas wajib belajar 12 tahun kala itu. Tetapi kami menyesuaikan saat ini sesuai dengan wajar Dikdas 13 tahun, sehingga rintisan desa tuntas wajib belajar 13 tahun. Rindu Bulan ini adalah satu inovasi yang menjadi rumah besar kami untuk
verifikasi bahwa apakah benar data-data tersebut anak putus sekolah atau memang kesalahan data. Untuk awalnya kami itu menerima data dari kabupaten, yaitu berupa file Excel dan juga ada yang melalui aplikasi. Itu beberapa data tersebut kami terima hanya berupa nama anak dengan nik serta nama orang tua. Tetapi untuk nama sekolah dan untuk status sekolahnya itu tidak ada. Jadi kami bertugas untuk memverifikasi di lapangan itu bahwa benar-benar anak itu tidak sekolah atau masih sekolah di mana. Seperti itu. Untuk langkah awal yaitu setelah kami terima data, yaitu di situ hanya ada nama dan nik, maka kami mencari data orang tuanya, yaitu melalui sistem kami yang mencakup data-data nama penduduk desa kami. Jadi seketika memang sudah ketemu untuk nama orang tuanya, maka kita akan lebih mudah untuk verifikasi anak itu ada di mana. Pak, ini ada kiriman ATS anak yang tidak sekolah dari kabupaten. Nama-nama iki dikon goleki terus arek iki sekolah apa ora. Ini coba-coba Pak. Berarti setelah kami mendapatkan nama-nama orang tua, yang kami lakukan adalah menghubungi teman kami, rekan kerja kami, contohnya yaitu RT atau teman kami yang ada di wilayahnya, untuk datang ke rumahnya yang bersangkutan, untuk anak tersebut ada di mana, kalau memang sekolah di mana, untuk memvalidkan data yang dibutuhkan.
Oke, halo. Kali Pak Faujan. Ini Pak, punya data anak sampean niku ora sekolah, jare kabupaten niku anak sampean niku gak sekolah. Saiki jane anak sampean niku sekolah apa ta, Pak? Umpama sekolahnya gitu, Pak.
Kalau selama ini memang ada beberapa anak yang kami mengharuskan datang ke lapangan atau langsung ke rumah yang bersangkutan karena memang kami tidak mempunyai akses kontak dari mereka. Entah dari RT-nya yang tidak mempunyai HP atau kami tidak mempunyai nomor HP di lingkungan tersebut. Jadi kami otomatis harus ke lapangan untuk menanyakan secara langsung kepada orang tuanya.
Verifikasi data bukan sekedar memeriksa dari depan layar, tetapi menyusuri rumah demi rumah, mencari wajah-wajah kecil untuk memastikan keadaan mereka. Sebab di balik setiap pintu yang diketuk, selalu ada harapan baru yang bertumbuh.
Jadi kalau data itu sudah kami temukan, data itu permasalahannya karena apa? Kalau salah satu contoh, itu karena memang anak tersebut tidak sekolah karena dari sisi ekonomi orang tua. Maka kami akan arahkan itu bantuan dari desa, mungkin mendatangi orang tua, bisa memberikan bantuan sekaligus untuk arahan agar anak tersebut bisa terus sekolah. Kalaupun dimaksimalkan benar tidak sekolah, maka kita arahkan ke PKPM atau sekolah paket itu, yang penting untuk anak tersebut bisa mempunyai pendidikan yang cukup.
Secara offline kami lakukan dengan menyebarkan data spreadsheet Excel yang nantinya akan dilengkapi oleh operator desa dan operator sekolah secara manual. Data ini kami butuhkan karena sesungguhnya kami ketika sudah real time anak-anak ATS itu hilang dari data dashboard ATS, kami tidak punya data. Melalui data manual inilah kami akhirnya memiliki data berapa anak yang dulunya ATS dan sekarang sudah kembali menjadi anak-anak yang menikmati pendidikannya di sekolah. Data dan verifikasi lapangan itu sangat penting. Kenapa? Satu, real nyata di lapangan itu keadaan anak itu bagaimana. Kadang dinyatakan DO, ternyata anaknya masih sekolah kayak gitu. Terkadang dinyatakan DO, anaknya tidak ada kayak gitu. Jadi menurut saya ketika data itu di cross check dan kita di lapangan benar-benar dapat yang valid, itu sebuah pondasi utama untuk melakukan apapun ya, data yang benar itu tadi. Penanganan ATS itu yang jelas data harus valid sesuai di lapangan. Salah satu intervensi yang dilakukan oleh Dinas Pendidikan dalam mengembalikan anak tidak sekolah kembali ke sekolah adalah menuju ke sekolah formal dan non-formal. Saat ini kami berada di salah satu tempat kursus dan pelatihan bagi anak-anak ATS yang sudah kembali ke sekolah. Nah, bersama dengan anak-anak ATS yang kembali ke sekolah non-formal, kami memberikan salah satu intervensi dengan memberikan pelatihan kursus sebagai bekal pelatihan mereka. Selain mendapatkan ijazah, juga mendapatkan sertifikat keterampilan dalam hal ini tata boga dan juga keterampilan yang lain. Ini harganya ya?
Ada pasang harga.
Luar biasa berani.
Bisa langsung di order.
Iya.
Ini udah ada yang beli ya? Ada. Ini juga nambah lagi.
Oh.
Nambah lagi Bu.
Iya iya. Besok masih ada pukis? Pesan untuk di kantor ya.
Berapa Ibu?
Ya, saya cukup bangga karena ATS bisa diturunkan berkat kerja kolaborasi. Ya, komitmen pemerintah daerah terkait dengan ATS ini cukup besar ya, karena secara berkala kami juga selalu memonitor kegiatan penurunan angka ATS. Dan kami sangat ingin mencapai di titik nol, tentu saja nol ATS ya. Tetapi itu tentu membutuhkan perjalanan panjang dan juga kerja keras. Setidaknya dalam tahun ini kami sudah ada zero dropout. Nah, ini adalah satu langkah awal kami untuk selanjutnya bisa menindaklanjuti bagaimana LTM atau lulus tidak melanjutkannya juga bisa turun. Dan yang fokus utama kami saat ini untuk mencapai wajar Dikdas 13 tahun adalah bagaimana bisa anak-anak yang belum pernah bersekolah itu segera mendapatkan pendidikan sesuai dengan jenjangnya.
Perjalanan untuk mewujudkan pendidikan bermutu bagi semua memang belum selesai. Namun, Banyuwangi telah membuka jalan terang bagi daerahnya. Dengan ketepatan data dan sinergi kerja bersama, mereka berhasil menekan angka anak tidak sekolah. Dengan partisipasi semesta melalui kolaborasi para pemangku kepentingan, penanganan anak tidak sekolah di Indonesia akan berjalan baik sebagai upaya memberikan layanan pendidikan yang bermutu untuk semua.
That was a brief glimpse into hope from the eastern tip of Java, a best practice in addressing out-of-school children from Banyuwangi. May this story inspires us all to contribute to expanding access to education, fostering hope, and empowering every child to achieve their full potential. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now proceed to the panel discussion sessions entitled Flexible Educations for Out-of-School Children, Indonesia and Global Perspective. And to guide the discussions, may I respectfully invite our moderator, Dr. Ahmi Al-Humami, to the stage. Dr. Ahmi Al-Humami, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon for everyone. It is really an honor for me to be here and participating in this event. And actually, I'm also so lucky and to be appointed by Pak Rector as the director of this newborn institute at the university levels. When at the first time I was asked by Pak Safiq Hasim to lead this institute, actually I suggested him to appoint Pak Alfa. He's the more suitable person for this position, the good person for the job. But actually he insisted to ask me for this position. And for today's event, along with the soft launching of this institute, as Pak Rector has mentioned already, this transformative education and society, alongside with the other institute that have already in place, as Pak Rector mentioned before. And we hopefully that by establishing this institute for Research Institute for Transformative Education and Society will develop a new kind of strategic partnerships, because education has been the global concerns, and that is why the IIIU, especially the Faculty of Education, must also take into consideration the very important critical issues on education. And actually, the specific issues on out-of-school children, particularly very important, being part of the national strategic concern of the government of Indonesia. And the issue of out-of-school children has also been put on the priority agenda of the both long-term development plan and also medium-term development plan. And you know, in terms of numbers, as Pak Irsad has already mentioned, that it's about 3 million, or other source mentioned 3.9 million. And this number is very huge. You know, school-age children at the level of primary and also upper secondary is about 53 or 55 million across the country in Indonesia. And by having about 3.9 million school-age children out of school, it really matters and contributes to the success of the development planning program, education program conducted by the government. And the issue of out of school children across the globe is about 275 million across the board, across levels and across ages. And the vast majority, of course, at the level of upper secondary education. And across the globe consists of 130 million. And in Indonesia, you know, mostly concentrated in the Java Island. And we will learn more from the speakers based on their research, their study. And that is why we invite our speakers from UNICEF. We invited actually Ibu Catherine, and unfortunately she was not in well condition and represented by Ibu Eni. And also Pak Anis from the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and maybe other speakers will join us. So I would like to invite Bu Eni, Pak Anis, and is Ibu Jaya here or not yet? Or I think Iksan, Iksan from the Philippines, please come to the stage. He is from the Philippine student of the Faculty of Education, and we will learn about the case study of, yes, Ibu Cahya joining us from the Zoom. Bu Esi? Bu Esi. Welcome, Bu Esi. Bu Esi. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Yang Bu Cahya on the joining us from online, and Bu Esi. Okay, we have about 1.5 hours or 2 hours, and we have to divide by about 5 speakers. And let us start with Ibu Eni first to have a perspective from the global context, because she is representing the global agencies through UNICEF. And she also has a lot of experience in public policy making, as UNICEF is part of the development partner with almost all the state agencies, Ministry of Bappenas, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Religious Affairs, and also Ministry of Home Affairs and others. Time is yours, Bu Eni.
Yes, thank you, Pak Ami. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, honorable guests, Rektor UIII, Bapak Profesor Jamhari Ma'ruf, Pak Irsad Samsani PhD, representing the head of BESCAP, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to convey big apologies from Ibu Catherine, as she cannot be here today. Actually, she has planned to attend this event, and until yesterday afternoon we are chatting, discussing about her presentation, but unfortunately this morning she was feel unwell, so deeply apologize, but hopefully UNICEF contribution in this presentation can provide meaningful insights on the situation of out-of-school children globally and also in Indonesia. Can somebody present the slide? Yes, next slide, please. So the presentation, the overview of the presentation will first provide brief description about data and facts on out-of-school children globally, at regional level, and also in Indonesia, and definition and types of flexible education, what works best in other countries, and also in Indonesia, and about flexible alternative learning pathway in Indonesia and UNICEF future plan with regard to addressing the issue of out-of-school children. Next slide. As mentioned by Pak Ami, the situation of out-of-school children globally is actually alarming, because unlike the situation in the last 10 years, where the population of out-of-school children is more than 250 million, it is actually increasing in the latest 10 years. Based on the data from UNESCO Institute for Statistics, around 273 million school-age children around the country, around the globe, are not in schools. And the situation is actually happen very seriously in low-income countries, in the countries where, in terms of proportion, the percentage of school children is still very high. So when we compare to the situation in Indonesia, in many African countries, the proportion of out-of-school children around 30%, but for Indonesia, it is around 7%. So there is a huge gap in terms of proportion of out-of-school children among countries. And the trend is actually since 2007 until now, and this is also mirroring the situation in Indonesia, is similar. Since the first time UNICEF Indonesia focusing on analyzing the issue of out-of-school children in 2010, we can see that in terms of proportion and absolute number, more boys out of school when compared to girls. And this is, the data is consistent from time to time, at least based on the Susunas data that we annually analyze. When talking about children with disability, we can see that these children are really falling behind because they have almost 50% more likely to be out of school compared to their peers who do not have any kind of disability. Next slide. If we look at the situation at the regional level and comparing countries in Southeast Asia, based on the data from 2023 from the UNESCO Institute of Statistics, due to huge population of Indonesia, Indonesia contribute the highest number in terms of absolute number of out-of-school children in Southeast Asia countries. Next slide. When we look at the situation for Indonesia, as mentioned by Pak Ami, based on the analysis on the Susunas data 2025, there are approximately 3 million school-going age children, 6 to 18 years old. So since the government already launched the policy on 13 years compulsory education, we also include 6-year-old children in the analysis. And it shows that around 3 million school-going age children in Indonesia are not in school. The situation on the ground might be more serious because this is survey data. Susunas data providing lower bound estimate while the real situation on the ground can be more serious and the number might be much, much higher than the estimation provided through Susna's data. Similar to the situation at the global level, among the 3 million population of out-of-school children, around 70% of them are children at upper secondary age group, 16 to 18 years old, followed by those in junior secondary age group, 13 to 15, and then 7 to 12 years old for primary school age, and then 6 years old when talking about 1 year pre-primary education. And when we look at the statistic again, we can see that as their age growing, the proportion of children with disability who are not in school is increasing a lot. When we look at the proportion from the population of children with disability at junior secondary age group, more than 50% of them are not in school. And this situation is really challenging for us because this indicating that children with disability are among those in the last mile age children who should be supported to enroll in education. Next slide. I'm always, I like to quote Pak Ami's term when talking about the reason children being out of school. Out of school children is a multi-dimensional issue. Yes, Pak Ami. There are many reasons that push children to be out of school. Even though the majority of them being out of school due to economic factors, but these factors usually not being the individual factors, combining with other factors such as parents' perspective about the relevancy of secondary education, or the need for them to pursue other priority such as working for their family, or even the issue of child marriage, for example, combining with socioeconomic factors, then pushing children to be out of school. About 47% of out-of-school children identify an economic factor as the primary reason for not attending schools, but there are also factors related to child marriage, and this actually really increasing during COVID times, where we can see from the news and also from the data that the number of especially adolescent girls who should be stop schooling increasing a lot due to child marriage. Other reasons, if you see the statistic, there are many children that actually do not want to say the reason for being out of schools. They just don't want to say it, and it consists of 20% of the total population. And this may be related to issues like, for example, trauma, experiencing bullying at school, or other factors that cannot be captured during the data collection. Next slide. From several studies conducted by UNICEF and also the analysis done at the global level, UNICEF views on flexible education define flexible learning as, or multiple and flexible learning pathway as skill development alternative for children and adolescents who drop out of school, have never been enrolled to school, or usually completing one education level but cannot continue to the next education level. And based on UNICEF experience and also the experience globally, when we facilitate these children to return to learning, most of them prefer to do so through flexible learning, such as non-formal education. Next slide. Why multiple and flexible learning pathway are important for out-of-school children? Many out-of-school children globally and also for the context of Indonesia already stopped schooling for 2 or 3 years. So it is really difficult for them to return to learning through formal setting. They already work, they cannot studying in normal learning hours as their peers in formal education, or they need to help with household chores that cannot be replaced by anyone in the family, or they already married, having children. So flexible and multiple learning pathway are really something which is suitable for out-of-school children, considering their characteristic, the nature, the social and family background they have, and also in relation also to opportunity cost, especially when we are talking about out-of-school children who already work. When talking about the situation of out-of-school children in Indonesia, one of the pocket of out-of-school children is Kabupaten Bogor. I think Kabupaten Bogor is where this UIII located, yes, Pak Ami. Many children, based on UNICEF study, many children prefer to not continue their education because there are many industries in their neighborhood. They can easily obtain 2 million per month with their junior secondary certificate, something that they cannot gain, for example, when they continue to upper secondary education. So the issue of relevancy and additional skills that can be provided by secondary education is really crucial to ensure and to motivate out-of-school adolescents to continue or return to school. We also need to see that, as I mentioned before, flexible scheduling and community-based education will enable out-of-school children to deal with parallel activities in their daily lives. So, as I mentioned, those who work can continue their education during Saturday and Sunday, or those who need to take care of their children can continue their education in the afternoon, for example, in a flexible learning hour. And this will provide them with opportunity to learn about skills, including transferable skills, that can help them not only to continue their education at the level when they have to drop out, but also to higher education. And when talking about SDGs, no one left behind is the target in 2030. So not tackling out-of-school children will be not enabling country, including Indonesia, to achieve its SDGs commitment. We still have more than 3 million children as our homework to ensure that no one left behind in terms of assessing the right to education. There are several conditions based on the global studies that need to be established when we want to support and making sure that alternative or multiple learning pathway is a success. First, it should respond to the needs of out-of-school children and adolescents and strategically align with national and subnational priorities. For the context of Indonesia, we're really happy that the government is really focusing on ensuring 13 years compulsory education can be achieved, and this will contribute in our dreams to achievement of zero out-of-school children by 2045, as already defined in the presidential regulation on out-of-school children recently issued. And the government also really paying a lot of attention in supporting establishment of alternative learning pathway for out-of-school children. In addition to non-formal education, for example, the government now also initiating distance learning to allow and provide more flexibilities for more children to continue their education despite their condition. One thing also which is very important when talking about flexible or alternative learning pathway for out-of-school children is about accreditation. Many of them think that obtaining specific skills is more important than obtaining academic skills. But how this kind of opportunity, learning opportunity, can be appreciated, can be provided with adequate accreditation to enable them to be counted when they want to pursue to higher education or when they want to continue to their education. And of course, in addition to providing accreditation, strong ownership, including from local government and local community, is very important, because the out-of-school children is actually belongs to district and city government. They are the closest one to these children. So ownership and building commitment from local government and communities is really crucial. And last but not least is establishing strong partnership with key stakeholders, including private sector, to provide the children with opportunities to upgrade their skills to be more relevant with the industrial needs. Next slide. There are several types of multiple and flexible learning pathways that already established globally, regionally, and I think also in Indonesia, which can provide re-enrollment to secondary education, but also leads to certification. The slides provide some examples of type and multiple flexible learning pathways, including, for example, bridging programs. I understand this bridging program actually exists in Indonesia many years ago. If I am not mistaken, we call it remedial program that provide actually children with preparation, several months preparation before they continue their schooling, to enable them to adapt with the, let's say, quote-unquote, new learning environment that they will face when they're continuing their education. Next slide. What works best in other countries? The literature shows that there are so many actually flexible learning pathways that already established in many countries, including, for example, in Malaysia, and probably our fellow students will present later on about the experience in the Philippines. But this example showing that there are actually many ways, potential ways, that can be relevant for the context of Indonesia to facilitate learning opportunities for out-of-school children and adolescents. Next slide. What about the context for Indonesia? About 2 years ago, UNICEF, in collaboration with the Center of Education Standards and Policies, Pak Irsyad Office, conduct a study on the implementation of non-formal education in Indonesia. We conduct this study because we see that non-formal education, the equivalency program of non-formal education is really the strategic ways, the most preferable ways for out-of-school children when they prefer to return to learn. Based on UNICEF experience in assisting many areas on the back-to-school movement, around 60% of children who finally decide to return to learn prefer to do so through non-formal education. However, I think it's important to ensure that whenever the children return to learning, they could also obtain quality learning, similar to their peers in formal education. So based on this backdrop, UNICEF conducting a study on non-formal education that looking at several aspects in terms of non-formal education implementation in Indonesia, from management, learning delivery, human resource, curriculum and relevancy, gender and inclusion, and perception about non-formal education. The policy brief on the study can be accessed in UNICEF website, but I would like to highlight that the result of the study pointing out the criticality to improve the quality of non-formal education in Indonesia, including strengthening the policies in relation to teachers and curriculum. When children returning to non-formal education, we can see that non-formal education provide a wide range of flexible learning, which is not available in formal schools. However, we can see that in terms of management, most district government, despite that they are given mandate to allocate the resource to non-formal education, but it is still very, very small resource has been allocated to non-formal education, which making this education service rely only on school operational budget to run their operationalization. Not yet to mention the issue about teachers, where it is really difficult for non-formal education to retain good quality teaching staff because of salary issues, regularity of payment, and also employment security. So if we go to many non-formal education PKBM or SKBs in the country, many of the teachers are actually honorarium teachers who teach in non-formal education as their second occupation. Usually they also teach in regular schools and then provide some time to teach in non-formal education. Next slide. So UNICEF is very concerned about the issue of out-of-school children. That's why in Indonesia especially, we are working collaboratively with many line ministries to address the issues. With Bappenas during Pak Ami's time, his support has been able to making our dreams come true with the issuance of the presidential regulation on out-of-school children. Recently, last Wednesday, issued by Bappenas. We also able to develop the national strategy on out-of-school children, who provide a platform for multi-sectoral collaboration to address the issues. In the future, UNICEF plan to conduct, next slide, please. Yes, to conduct further analysis on non-formal education, especially to look at deeper the existing policies relating to non-formal education so that we can support improvement of the quality and relevancy of non-formal education. In addition to that, learning from many good practice and also global experience, we would also conduct, focus the study on identifying other potential learning pathways for out-of-school children in Indonesia outside the non-formal education system. The next study that we are going also to do in this year under the Global Partnership for Education is the multi-factor situation analysis or meta-analysis on out-of-school children to identify deeper the root causes of children being out of school and good practice, which is already actually exists in many parts of the countries. Like the example we see in Banyuwangi, and there are actually many initiative good practice already established by local governments to address the issue of out-of-school children. We hope that this study can support better on how to integratedly and more structurally address the issue of out-of-school children with support from all stakeholders, not only government, but also non-government stakeholders, private sector, communities, and civil society organizations. I think I'll stop there, Pak Ami, and I hope I don't take time too much. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Bu Annie, for exposing the global data on the case of out-of-school children. and also narrowing down into the case of Indonesia, and by also offering some framework learning platform in response to the need of children who were out of school and willing to return to the school to learning. But the policy choices are also open. For say, for example, formal schooling, but not limited to formal schooling, but also some alternative ways in order for those who are willing to be back to school and learn. And now I would like also to invite Pak Anis. He is from the Ministry of Religious Affairs, responsible for madrasah education, and we believe that there is also some good programs in madrasah education dealing with the issue of out-of-school children. Please, Pak Anis.
Okay, thank you, Ami. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, Allahumma sholli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana shrah lana sudurana wa yassir lana umurana wa hlul 'uqdatam min alsinatina yafqahu aqwalana. Distinguished speakers in this forum, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here as on behalf of the Director of Curriculum, Facilities and Student Affairs and Madrasah Institution, or we always say KSKK Madrasah, of the Directorate General of Islamic Education at the Ministry of Religious Affairs. I would like to explain the ministry strategy, particularly for madrasah, in preventing and handling out-of-school children. I hope my explanation provides the necessary insight for this forum. If anything remains unclear, please do not hesitate to ask me directly. Next slide. As we know, education is a fundamental right for every child. Yet millions, as Pak Ami said, that millions of children in Indonesia remain outside the school system. So the Ministry of Religious Affairs has developed a comprehensive strategy to implement the 13 years compulsory education program, focusing on preventing and handling ITES, anak tidak sekolah, or out of school children. Now, based on data from PJBI, Peta Jalan Pendidikan Indonesia atau Roadmap Indonesian Education 2025 and 2045, that between year 2018 till 2023, the number of ITES aged 6 until 18 years decreased from 4.5 million to 4.1 million. So we heard from Pak Irsad and Pak Ami, the last information, the number of ITES reached 3.8 or 9 million. So we can see that the recent children dropout are diverse. Firstly, about financial constraint, close to 25%. Secondly, working to earn income, more than 20%. Thirdly, marriage, more than 10%. So the perception that education is sufficient, close to 10%. Other factors include disability, distance to school, household responsibilities, bullying, and the impact of COVID-19. Yeah. This data highlight a complexity of the challenge. Poverty, social cultural norms, and accessibility all play a role. So the government commitment is reflected in several national strategies based on Astacita number 4, strengthening human resources, education, health, gender, equality, and inclusion for youth and persons with disabilities. The Ministry of Religion have Asta Protas. Number 4, promoting excellent, inclusive, and integrated education. So we have a prudential regulation number 3, year 2026. It directs prevention and handling effort toward vulnerable groups such as child workers, children with disabilities, street children, victims of violence, and child married survivors. So Article 3, next slide. Next. Yeah, Article 3 of Prudential Regulation number 3 of year 2026 concerning the handling and prevention of out of school children states that PPATS is acronym from pencegahan dan penanganan anak tidak sekolah, handling and prevention of out of school children is implemented for firstly children in special areas like children in remote area, earthquake victims, and the others. Second, child laborers. 3 children with disabilities. 4 street children, 5 abandoned children, 6 children who are victims of violence, 7 children in conflict with the law and foster children, 8 children who are victims of child marriage, and 9 children with other vulnerable condition. What Mora did, we have done 3 of them, just 3 of them. Number 1, children in special areas. Number 3, children with disabilities, and number 6, children who are victims of violence. The Ministry of Religious Affairs in Strategic Planning Document (RENSTRA) Rencana Strategis 2025 till 2029 mention outlines priority programs. Firstly, expanding terus. Next slide. Next. Yeah. And the next slide. In strategic planning document, mention outlines priority programs. Firstly, expanding education infrastructure in specific atau special region like remote area, disadvantaged, or border areas. The second, increasing access through scholarship or giving BOS and BOP funding and affirmative programs to poor and vulnerable families. Thirdly, organize equivalency education program, or we say flexible education, to reintegrate ITES into formal and non-formal schooling. Fourth, facilitating student transfer between institutions through prevent dropouts. And 5, strengthening family and community awareness about the importance of education. Madrasah play a central role in prevention. Next slide. Next. Yeah. Next. We can see the data that 75 or 72% the student of madrasah is poor. It's potential they become a dropout in their schools. So So madrasah organized like inclusive madrasah. Yeah, it's growing rapidly. In year 2023, around 300 madrasah as madrasah inclusive atau inclusive madrasah, and by April year 2027 reach 1,853 madrasah. The ministry organized two education equality program in pesantren, or we say flexible education. In 2007 pesantren, which serve over 250 students atau santri. So we organize two child friendly madrasah or MRA, madrasah ramah anak, sekolah ramah anak. This year we get there are 7,373 madrasah have been approved and determined by ministry. So the others step, we improved governance and regulation, like establishing disability service unit for disabilities, unit layanan disabilitas, and technical guideline for inclusive education, such as guideline for teaching, guideline for assessment disability students, guideline for teacher for disability student, and so on. The last, preventing and handling ITES is not just about bringing children back to school. It's about a creative, safe, inclusive, and supportive learning environment. Through integrated policies, targeted program, and strong community involvement, Indonesia is working to ensure that every child has the opportunity to complete 13 years of education. Lastly, I would like to leave you with a good quote. One candle in the darkness is more useful than a shot without action. This effort is that candle bringing light and hope to millions of children across the nation. I think enough. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Pak Anies. I think both Pak Anies and also Ibu Eni share in common in regards to how the government from the Ministry of Education and from the development partners agencies dealing with the issue of out-of-school children. And the good thing from the perspective of the MORA, as mentioned by Pak Anies, is that on the strategic planning documents issued by the MORA also mentions about how to touch the issue of out of school in madrasah. And we are so lucky to have Pak Anies actually, as at MORA we have a lot of pesantren providing alternative education services and learning, and it reach the out of the reach because pesantren scatters across the country, even at the remote areas. Now we move on to the next speakers, joining through Zoom online with us. Ibu Jaya, she's now serving as the director of CMO, and will share with us about how, from the perspective of CMO dealing with this issue. Screen and time, yours, Ibu Jaya.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Ami. So can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, we do hear your voice.
So I will my screen. with afternoon. Okay. 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 So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's my pleasure to join this discussion panel to share the regional and Indonesian experience and reflections on flexible education for out-of-school children or OSCE. Today, I would like to discuss 4 key areas. First, the challenge we are facing. Second, why flexible learning matters. Third, some practice from Indonesia. And finally, what we can do moving forward. So first, let me introduce our institutions. So here is our full name, Soto Sasian, Ministers of Education Organization, Regional Open Learning Centers. So we established since 1997, founded by our data centers, our ICT center, Pustekom at that time. So we already established since 29 ago, and right now we are under the Bureau of Planning and Cooperation, Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. So we are located in the complex Universitas Terbuka. So any colleague from Universitas Islam, from UIII, can also come to our office in Jakarta. Here is our core strategy as stated in our 5-year development plan 2025-2029. We want to develop low bandwidth ODL solutions because we know that in several areas still have limited connectivity that we still need to reach them. Second, we want to champion the ODL policy harmonization. So right now, apologize me that I cannot join you there in UIII because we are now hosting the regional policy dialogue on micro-credentials here in Jakarta. Third, we need to collaborative resource mobilizations, develop ODL quality assurance expertise, and also adopt comprehensive ODL analytics. We have 9 flagship programs in primary and secondary education, and also to higher education. Some of them is related to our Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education priority related to deep learning and also coding and artificial intelligence for education advancement. So there are 4 contexts that I will share today. I think the challenge has been informed by UNESCO and colleague from Mora. So in the world, we still have more than 200 million out of school youth. And then in Indonesia, we still have around 3.9 billion. So what we need to highlight also that we also still lack of foundational learning because based on our CPLM data, 1 in 2 children in grade 5 primary schools cannot read at the expected level. This is also the result of the COVID-19 pandemic, where 70 million children in Southeast Asia were affected by school closure. So this is the map of the out-of-school children in Indonesia. I think we have been discussed about this, and also the key drivers of out-school children. Yeah. So, as a colleague from UNESCO already, UNICEF already mentioned that the cause of the out-of-school children are complex. Yeah. Economic hardship remains the most significant factor. Many children need to contribute to household income, child marriage, and domestic responsibilities, geographical barriers, and also migrations, mobility, disability, and also social cultural factors. How about in Southeast Asia? More or less, yeah, although the context differ, we observe similar patterns. Yeah. Whether in Indonesia, the Philippines, Laos PDR, Malaysia, or Thailand, conventional education systems often struggle to accommodate learners whose realities do not fit with the traditional school structures. This leads us to an important question. If education is a right, how do we ensure that our system adapt to learners rather than expecting learners to adapt to rigid system? Yeah, so it brings me to the second point, the solutions. When we talk about the flexible learning, we are not simply talking about online classes or emergency remote teaching. So flexible learning is the design principle. It means we need to create multiple pathways that accommodate different learners, circumstances, needs, and also aspirations. So the paradigm shift from asking how can learner fit into schools to asking how can education reach learner wherever they are. Flexible learning recognizes that learners have different realities. Some live in remote areas, some work to support their families, some migrate frequently, some have caregiving responsibility, some require additional support due to disabilities. So it means that one pathway simply cannot serve anyone. Flexible learning provides alternatives through flexible schedules, multiple learning locations, community-based delivery, recognitions of prior learning, and personalized progression pathways. Distance education is one important modality within this broader ecosystem. Importantly, distance education does not only mean internet-based learning. It can include printed module, radio and television programs, mobile learning, learning management systems, and also community tutors. The key principle is simple: education should adapt to learner's life, not the other way around. So this is our Simolec contributions to the flexible learning ecosystems. Yeah, here in Simolec we are developing several technology utilizations. Yeah, we have our learning management system, MOOCs, and also digital learning resources. We do various capacity building activities, teacher training, digital pedagogy. We also promote the quality learning resource together with the teachers. We develop open educational resources, digital modules, and we always working hand in hand with the ministry, local government, schools, and also community learning centers. So how is the practice? As we know, we already have the national strategy to take care about this out of schools children and youth, especially under the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. We already have several initiatives such as SMP terbuka or open junior high schools, open senior high schools, and right now what I would like to share in detail is about the distance educations in secondary level. We also recognize that our non-formal program, our equivalency programs, have important role in addressing as the solutions of the out of school children and youth. And online and distance learning is also conducted in our equivalency programs. However, I would like to share more about the recent initiative with the Direktorat Pendidikan Khusus dan Layanan Khusus Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education related to the distance educations in secondary level. Yeah, so these are several pathways that students can use distance learning. Yeah, and this is the history of the distance learning. Yeah, we already introduced the SMP terbuka since 1979. Yeah, and then followed that in 2001 until 2005. We have also pilot of the SMA terbuka. We have another, after next 10 years, we have another pilot. We also have the provincial scaling of the distance learning in West Java. And then right now, we also have the new brand of the distance learning as a national mainstreaming. We developed it in 2025. Yeah, so this is the current initiative that Simolec assists the Directorate of the Special Education. The scale is targeted to 34 provinces. And so what's the difference with the open secondary school, with the distance learning schools? Is this distance learning school focused only to address the out of school children and youth? Yeah, so only those who already be OSCE learner, yeah. So these students need to be ITES first, yeah. They so the graduates of junior high schools cannot directly join these programs. Yeah, so only those who terminate, yeah, for example, 1 year or 2 years delay, yeah, as long as they are under maximum 18 years old, they still can join this program. Yeah, and also the focus area is only to the high OSCE density, yeah, disaster-prone area, and also the community learning centers in Kota Kinabalu. So currently we have 21st, yeah, I think more right now, 32. Yeah, 32 host school, yeah, in 32 province, yeah, and then each host school in each province, they will have network with at least 3 schools, other secondary schools, yeah, in the district who has high density of the out of school children and youth. Yeah, Simolec there assisting the Minister of Primary Education, especially to equip teachers with the right competencies to teach in open and distance learning approach. Yeah, and we also collaborate with Universitas Terbuka for quality assurance. So this is our roadmap. We started our pilot phase last year, and this year, I think last month, yeah, the ministers launched this program, and the teacher training will be conducted started these months. Yeah. There are also module development assisted by Simolec, and then it will be nationwide implementation started this semester. Yeah, and this program is expected in 2029. We have system consolidation with full evaluation. Yeah, because actually this distance learning secondary school is also the brand new of the SMA terbuka. Yeah, we hope that in 2029 we have one national school that to assure the quality of the distance learning in the secondary levels. Yeah. So this is how it works. Yeah. So in each province, it will be one host school. Yeah, fully accredited, good accreditations with the robust infrastructures, human resource, and readiness. Yeah. And then the schools also get the grants. Yeah. Then the host school will have 3 until 5 partner schools in several districts in one province. So, what we can do together, yeah. So, let me share some thoughts on the way forward. Achieving educational inclusions require moving beyond isolated programs toward systemic transformation. That's why several priorities emerge. We need to strengthen our data system to identify off-school children early and support timely interventions. So right now we already have a good dashboard provided by the Pusdatin. However, it's still not enough. Yeah, we need to have our early warning system. Yeah. Especially, for example, if we want to prevent OSCE in secondary level, so the early warning system need to start since the junior high schools. Yeah. Second, we need to recognize the flexible learning pathways as legitimate and high quality components of national education system rather than second chance options. Yeah. That's what we are working with. Yeah. Third, we need to invest in low bandwidth and accessible learning solutions to ensure no learners is excluded because of geography and connectivity content. Fourth, we need also to strengthen collaborations across sectors, including education, social welfare, health, labor, local government, and also civil society. No single institutions can address this challenge alone. Most importantly, we need to shift our collective mindset. The question should not be whether learners fit within our existing systems. The question should be whether our systems are flexible enough to accommodate the diverse realities of learners. Every learner matters. Every learner deserves the opportunity to thrive, and every learner should have access to pathways that allow them to continue learning regardless of circumstances. As we work toward the vision of zero out of school children, flexible learning should not be viewed as an exception. It should become a fundamental mechanism for educational equity, because educational inclusion is not only about bringing children back to schools, it is also about ensuring that every child and young person has meaningful opportunities to learn, grow, and build their futures. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bu Cahya, for sharing with us the very insightful thought. And 3 speakers actually highlight the similar things about the main causes of why children not attending to school, mostly about the economic factors and also some issues on social and also cultural problems. And they also offer some alternative for learning, not limited to formal schooling, but also learning choices, including non-formal education, about how we also offer to the children for flexibility of learning, and not only for formal education and learning, but we also must ensure about the quality of learning. By taking into account the complexity of the issue of out of schooling, then we turn to the next speakers, Ibu Desi, from the perspective of the Ministry of Education with reference to the policy studies and others. Please, Ibu Desi.
Thank you, Pak Ami, and good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you all here. And actually today I'm just going to echoing what the previous speaker have delivered and shared to us, because they are my seniors and of course their experience beyond mine. So yeah. And before that, we would like again, once again, convey our deepest appreciation for inviting us here so we can share some of our studies. And once again, we would like to congratulate the soft launching of Institute of Transformative Education and Society. And yeah, so today we would like to share about our study titled Fostering Integrated and Sustainable Ecosystem for the Prevention and Re-engagement of Out-of-School Children in Indonesia. And the acronym Out-of-School Children and Youth, or OOSC and OOSY, were used interchangeably because, as you know, we are a Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. Sometimes the data regarding youth would more than the school age. And next slide, please. So this is the overview of my presentation today. We would like to share about the background of our study, and then the findings, and finally, the recommendation of our study. Next slide, please. Yes, so to contextualize the urgency of this issue, this section will establish as the foundational comprehension or baseline why this study is very important. Well, actually, the data have been shared from the previous speakers. There are a lot of data that we can look at regarding out-of-school children. And yeah, this issue remain a major challenge, especially in realizing 13 years of compulsory education in Indonesia. So actually, it will still relevant to overcome, to be discussed, and to be researched in the next years for us, because this would require a longitudinal comprehension and studies. And based on the data from December 2025 from the Verbal ITES dashboard, or verification and validation of out-of-school children that managed by the Center of Data and Information, it indicates that there are over 2.5 million children that categorized as out of school here in Indonesia. Well, we have seen before the global data, and today we would like to broaden our perspective as well on the data of out-of-school children in Indonesia. And especially this number, like the previous speakers have mentioned, it rises, so the number tends to rise as the level of education advances. So this condition then suggests that older children are increasingly vulnerable to leaving the school system. And not mention that addressing this issue remains challenging and complex because it demands a multi-stakeholder collaborations, particularly at the subnational level. And next slide, please. So this is to give you an idea or to give you a clear perspective. As we see in this figure or chart, we see that, as I mentioned before, as we go up to the higher level of education, we see that the number is getting higher as well. And if you see the color here, there's the yellow, dark blue, and light blue. So this color the yellow represent children who never enroll in school, and then the dark blue represent graduated children, but they don't continue or they don't enroll in the next level of education. And then the light blue represents dropout children. So, and this data, the public can access this data through website ats.kemendikdasmen.go.id. And this data actually being captured on December. Right now, the platform is sustainably being updated. So yeah, you might see some update from the platform. So this is the view on December 2025. And yeah, the next slide, please. If we previously talked about the data on global perspective, we would like to give you more perspective on how challenging this issue is in Indonesia, and if we again process and access the data from our dashboard or profile ITES dashboard, we can see that nearly 40% of the out-of-school children resides in Java Island, and most of them are categorized as never enrolled children. And if we can see from the right side table, we see these are top 10 provinces that have a very high number of out-of-school children, and most of them are provinces that reside in Java Island. And if we have a closer look of the reasons why they are becoming out-of-school children through the platform. So the platform actually provides you, previously the platform provided you 13 reasons, and right now or currently we have 23 reasons to categorize what is the reason why they are becoming out-of-school children. And based on the data on April 2026, we can see that, and it relevance with the previous ideas that have been mentioned from the previous speakers, that they are becoming out-of-school children because of because of economic issue, because they have to work or they have to help their parents so they can have a more capacity to have a better life. And the second reasons is because the enrollment in pesantren or Islamic boarding school. Islamic boarding school here means that the pesantren which not provide non-formal education. And the third one is because they simply don't have any interest in attending school. So yeah, well actually this reason have a more potential to research, to have a further research, but it is very alarming because they say that they simply don't want to attend school. So yeah, this is very alarming for us. And as I have mentioned before, that most of them are children who never enroll in school. Next slide, please. And so actually this presentation refers to our policy brief. And in this policy brief, we have 3 questions to uncover. The first one is how do subnational government conceptualize and interpret the national policy framework for addressing out-of-school children. And the second one is what subnational strategies and intervention have been deployed to prevent and re-engage out-of-school children. And the third question is how are cross-sectoral coordination and evaluation mechanism institutionalized and implemented at a subnational level to address the issue. And to have a more comprehensive understanding, we do the study and 4 regions or districts. They are Pangkep, Pangkajene, and Kepulauan. It resides in South Sulawesi. And then Banyuwangi, East Java. That's where you have see the movie before. And then Mamuju in West Sulawesi, and Magelang in Central Java. And the data collected on August to September 2025, and this is a qualitative study. So we have a semi-structured interview with Education Office, with Bapeda, or a Region National Development Planning Agency, and then also Social Service Office and Community and Village Empowerment Office, as well as schools and children who previously are out-of-school children. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, as we have tried to comprehend the issue, so we found that divergent interpretations of national policies regarding prevention and re-engagement of out-of-school children have resulted in highly varied implementation at the subnational level. So we do aware, and we, the majority of us might aware that the capacity of our subnational government or authorities are very different. We have a, like you can say a high capacity of subnational authorities, and also we have a low capacity of subnational authorities, and this capacity actually affects on how they interpret or understand the national framework to prevent and re-engage out-of-school children in Indonesia. And until 2025, actually Indonesia strategic approach regarding this issue actually refers to a policy document that published by Bappenas, or National Development Agency. And right now, as have been mentioned before by Kemenak or Mora, in early 2026, the presidential regulation have been issued. So right now we have a national umbrella to refer to regarding this issue. But yet, the challenge still there, and we need to overcome the challenges. And actually from that particular policy document, actually it highlights 5 important or pivotal pillars. They are multi-sectoral collaborations, political commitment, targeted evidence-informed intervention, cross-sectoral role mapping, and continuous learning. Actually, this document a really transformative document, but again, because the capacity of our subnational authorities is very varied, so that's why this document only not or inadequate to drive them to have a more actionable practice in the local context. And also, the study revealed that disparities in understanding among local authorities regarding the national out-of-school children policies. And yeah, the next slide, please. And the next finding, while we doing the study, we learned. So we learned that actually subnational authorities have designed various programs to address the out-of-school children issue, but persistent gaps remain regarding policy alignment, data governance, and targeted service delivery. And actually, we have good practices from the subnational authorities, but also we have a critical reflection when we comprehend or understanding the issue in the field. Well, we learned that Pangkep, they have a subnational regulations, Perbub and Pergub, or Regency regulation or governor regulation, and these regulations have become the framework for them to make a more actionable practice or actionable strategy for them. And they also provide customized educational services, and also they collaborate with Guru BK or counselor teacher to re-engage their students that at risk or vulnerable to be dropouts. And in Banyuwangi, we learn a lot about out-of-school children data collection. Well, we do believe that data collection play a vital role, so we can make evidence-informed strategy or interventions. Without right or accurate data collection, we won't have a right strategy to address, because as I mentioned before, there are many reasons why children becoming out-of-school children, and we cannot give them just one-size-fits-all policy to them. And in Mamuju, we learned that there are several village regulations to address children marriage, but yet when we doing the studies there, we learned that the regulations is not quite evaluated well by them, and we learned that political transition or leadership change there have effects on how they see the issue, on how they create the strategy in Mamuju. And then in Magelang, they have a forum to re-engage the out-of-school children to the formal education system. And they also have a provide or provision public transportation provisions, so they can re-engage children who resides in geographical challenging areas. And next slide, please. So this is just to give you an idea or illustrations on how Pangkep create such contextualized education services. So they have Pasti Cerdas, Kelas Perahu, Bagang Cerdas, and Kelas Musim. So actually, these are very transformative. I think we believe that this is a very transformative strategy and approach from them, because not all subnational authorities in Indonesia can have this view or can have these ideas to overcome the out-of-school children. But yet, we would like to propose that these ideas could have more adequate pedagogical quality assurance, because when we talk to them, when we discuss with them, how do you ensure that the quality of the education could be achieved with these ideas? They don't really have the answer comprehensively. And we found that there are also empirical, there are significant gaps, because when we try to talk with the students kind of don't really acquire the foundational skills, although they have received these programs. But yet, this is a very transformative programs that we need to support and make it better in the future. And the next slide, please. And this is the illustrations on how the out-of-school children data collection being conducted in Banyuwangi. We learn a lot that they have layers here. So as the movie have been explained as well from Bu Lina, there are some layers that have been done, and we see that they do really have a concern, and they do really have a focus on having a better practice on how to collect the data of out-of-school children in their area. Next slide, please. And from this study, we learned that there are some structural challenges in addressing the out-of-school children issue. And we learned that there are 6 structural challenges that we would like to highlight. The first one is national regulatory gap. So while we doing the study, the presidential regulation have not been issued, but right now it had been issued. So yeah, we hopefully this national regulatory framework can be an umbrella, so the subnational authorities can have more space and dreams and their bravery to make more targeted intervention. And the second one is fragmented institutional collaborations. So we found that there's still a silo practice in subnational authorities. Like when we talk with them, they say that this is the responsibility of education office or dinas pendidikan. This is not our job, this is not our responsibilities. So that kind of dynamic is still persists in the subnational level. And hopefully again, the national regulatory framework can drive a more solid collaborations between stakeholders, especially in a subnational level. And the next one is unsystematic frameworks. So we found, although Banyuwangi gives you so much thing to learn, but actually we found that sometimes the program is still ad hoc. I mean, they kind of like having program that tied to specific person or specific units. So if we're talking about sustainability, this kind of framework, this kind of condition wouldn't be good to the sustainability of certain or any programs. So yeah, this is another challenge that we found. And then the next one is suboptimal relevant education service. So it's really, really relevant with the previous ideas that have been mentioned before, that not all. So we have the non-formal education, we have alternative learning pathways that exist right now, but not all of them quite align with the out-of-school children needs. So especially for us in Ministry of Education, Ministry Primary and Secondary Education, we have a lot of homework to make it more relevant to our children. And next is fractured data collections. So again, data is such a pivotal thing to have when we would like to tackling the issue of out-of-school children, but yet we found that there are 4 challenges when we're talking about data. It's regarding the process, system, compliance, and capacity. And the next one, we still found that the intervention, like the subnational authorities just give generic or general program or intervention. For example, they give the out-of-school children uniforms or a school kit. Well, that's such a appreciative thing to have, but actually not all children can be addressed by those approach. So yeah, these are some structural challenges that we found through our studies. So next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. So we would like to recommend at least 6 points or 6 ideas. The first is accelerate subnational policy adoption. So because the presidential or national regulatory framework have been issued, so we really hope that it could strengthen the subnational integrations of national out-of-school children directives by enacting contextualized regulation and executing systematic data-driven community outreach. And the second one, mainstreaming the issue into subnational development agendas, because right now they have the framework. Previously, there are some authorities that don't really want to have innovation regarding this issue because they say there's no kind of like umbrella framework for them. So right now, hopefully it could be mainstream in their development agendas. And the third one is deploy targeted and context-specific intervention. So yeah, the national government and the subnational government need to focus and prioritize, for example, the pocket of out-of-school children, the pocket area or the cluster area. Like we have shown before, we have an issue, big issue in Java Island, especially like Bu Eni has said, because there are high population there, so the potential of out-of-school children have a very high number on those specific areas would be very high as well. So that could be one of the considerations that to take, that those specific areas should be one of the priority of our government. And then also, again, we need to address the issue regarding the reason or the status why children becoming out-of-school children. And then the fourth, establish a performance-based evaluation framework. So we hope that this issue could be institutionalized in more rigorous, and it could link to the performance space for the subnational authorities. Actually, it has been linked, but there are some subnational authorities that could be still don't really understand on how to link this issue to their performance. So yeah, we hope this could be more systematic link to their performance. And then the fifth, transition to ecosystem-oriented prevention. So we need to shift, not only like prevent or having a reactive and ad hoc programs, but rather we should have a more holistic and ecosystem-based prevention model. And the last but not least, expand the flexible and contextualized learning pathways. And especially the final recommendation also should be addressed, highly addressed by our minister as well, because yeah, like Bu Cahaya have mentioned before, we have several policies to address this, and hopefully we can develop the policy better in the future. And the next slide, please. And you can learn more our studies through this policy brief through the website pskp.kemendikdasmen.go.id, or you can scan the barcode as well. And that's from me. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Esi, for the very rich content and substance of the material presentation. You brought your presentation from the ground, observing cases on this issue from region, district across the country. One thing that makes me speechless is that in the beginning of your slide, showing that among the school-age children who are out of school, close to half, they never enrolled in the school system. This data is so sparkling and indeed alarming. And that is the reason why the government, the Indonesian government, issued the presidential decree, presidential regulation on how to prevent and deal with the problem of out-of-school children. Just issued last 2 or 3 days. UNICEF also attended to Catherine and discussed about the very core problem of education in Indonesia. Though we have the same shared experience in common, Indonesia and the Philippines. And then I would like to invite Iksan to share with us. Please, Brother Iksan.
Thank you so much, Pam. I think most of these discussions by our experts present here have also been tackled during your class. And that's why it's a little easier for me to add a little to the discussion. I don't think that without that class, I'm not sure what would have done. So thank you so much, Pa, for your guidance. And I would also like to appreciate Pa Alpha for inviting me to be part of this panel discussion. He specifically asked me to provide something from the Philippines. So, in the Philippine context, I'm sorry, my name is Ehsan Zelman. I'm from Philippines. I'm part of Faculty of Education, MA Education Batch 4. Today, I will share about the Philippine context regarding the topic of alternative education or flexible education. This experience from the Philippines, specifically addressing the needs of out-of-school children, youth, and adults. So later on, I will provide the legal foundation and the historical progression of this specific topic. Next slide, please. So, back in 2018 and 2022, because of the PISA, and the Philippine government saw that the performance of the Filipino children are, to be honest, it's disappointing. It was disappointing. And that's why it prompted them to evaluate the national education system of the Philippines through establishing the Second Education Commission, EDCOM-2. This is the largest education commission in the country, which comprises of high public officials with senators, congressmen, and the ministries of the Philippines. So with this instance, they have identified 28 priority areas in which they think the reason why the education system of the Philippines was failing. And one of those priority area, they call it the alternative learning system, priority number 9. So what is alternative learning system? In the context of the Philippines, there's the idea of the second chance, providing second chance for everyone or for every citizen. And that's the idea behind when the Department of Education of the Philippines launched alternative learning system back in 2004. Next slide, please. So the foundation of the alternative learning system or the flexible learning was actually part of the 1987 Constitution of the country. However, it means that this kind of approach or this kind of concept has solid legal basis because it is part of the Constitution. However, the problem was it was not specific enough. For instance, the key provision of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, Article 19, it states that the state shall encourage non-formal, informal, and indigenous learning systems and provide training for out-of-school youth, adults, and citizens. So therefore, it recognizes that perhaps formal schooling is not enough to address the educational needs of all of its constituents. And therefore, later on 2001, the Republic Act 9155 defined the alternative learning system as a parallel learning system that provides a viable option to existing formal education. So what I would like to highlight in this historical progression and the legal foundation was, at the very foundation is the Constitution. However, the problem was it was not specific enough and it takes years for it to develop. If you can see 1987, 2001, 2004, 2013. And 40 years later, almost 40 years later, only then the Republic Act 11510, the alternative learning system was institutionalized. So it means that even though there was a core basis on the Constitution itself, the basis of all the policy and the laws of the country, it took 40 years for it to develop to the extent that it has achieved institutionalization. Next, please. So, before it was institutionalized on 2020, we have the basic alternative learning system. It was just like an initiative from the Department of Education. It was just an initiative. They recognized that we need to do something about others who are not part of the formal schooling system. So the programs only included basic literacy program, accreditation and equivalency. So the idea here is that even if the people are not part of the formal schooling, if they want to have the equivalency or the accreditation for them to have employment, then if they, for example, in the grassroots level, if the adults or the young adults are shy to go to school because they were late or because of poverty or other reasons, then they can just ask for the equivalency in order to have the same qualification, meaning they don't have to go to the formal schooling. And I think that encourages a lot of those who miss the opportunity, because if I am 15 years old and I did not finish primary schooling, then probably if I enter the primary schooling, my classmates will be 6 years younger than me. And it's very awkward, something like that. So that's the reality that is trying to address by the Department of Education. However, this was not enough, because like the experts previously or the previous presenters previously stated, that without specific provision from the law or from the policy, it is very hard to implement this on a large scale. So it means, although it may exist, but it's very superficial. Therefore, on 2020, they have established the Alternative Learning System version 2.0. In this specific instance, they have made it more specific. For example, they have expanded the target learners. So what do we mean by expanding the target learners? Remember, the very purpose of alternative education or alternative learning system was to make education as accessible as possible for everyone, not just part of formal schooling, but for every citizen of the country. At first, the idea was just to address out-of-school youth, because they realized that not everyone, maybe someone from rural areas, from marginalized community, they may have missed primary schooling. So they wanted to address out-of-school youth. However, due to the recent interest about the importance of early childhood education and how many children are not really enjoying a good quality early childhood education, the government also added the term children. Therefore, from OSY, it became OSCY, which means out-of-school children and youth, because they recognize that many children are not really part of formal schooling at the earliest part of their life, at the earliest stage of their life. In the Philippine context, you can see many children from marginalized community, from poverty, living in poverty area, that they are not going to school. And they are school-aged children, and that was the concern. And for further, or the latest development of this concept, is they have further extended it to adults. So now it is called out-of-school children, youth, and adults. They recognize the fact that many adults nowadays, maybe because of the difficult situation from the previous generation, they were not able to have education. But they still matter, right? Because the Constitution basis is that everyone should have access to educational opportunity. And therefore, they want to address, by this instance, that they also need to provide educational opportunities for those beyond the school age. Like if we try to say that the school age is from 5 to 24 years old, for instance, then if you are 25, you are not part of the system. But you are not that old in that kind of discussion, right? So in this instance, they wanted to address that. Even if you are beyond school age, you can still participate in educational pathways through this method. And one of the highlights of the enhanced ALS is that the pathways to further education, training, and employment and entrepreneurship. It was also to address the rising demand for educated employee or workforce. Because like we have said earlier, the government of the Philippines recognized that they have many adult population who is in the middle, like early adults or young adults, that they may have missed the schooling age, but they can still be trained in order to be part or to be integrated into the national workforce. Therefore, this is the case. So if I try to illustrate it, let's say someone who is 26 years old, and they are very smart, they want to participate in the country, they can be trained, they have the potential, but they missed the part that there's an age limitation on the formal schooling. So they can take equivalency for primary schooling if they did not finish the primary schooling, so they will be considered someone who graduated primary school. Then if we try to upgrade that, they can also take the equivalency for junior high school and senior high school. So by the time they are 28, from 26 to 28, they have achieved the equivalency for senior high and junior high school. And now they have opportunity to either go to college or to work or something like that. So this instance, the alternative education is finally slowly getting closer to the idea of the 1987 Constitution, which is to provide opportunity, educational opportunity for every constituents of the country. Next slide, please. So for the alternative learning system methods of delivery, it is primarily categorized based on two things: school-based and community-based. So the school-based is something that is arranged by the school local boards or local school boards. So the idea here is that the formal schooling, they are already using the school. However, we need to arrange this kind of school ecosystem in order to accommodate those from outside formal schooling. So some of the ideas are already mentioned by the previous presenters. For example, one of them is the open junior high school and open senior high school, wherein the students, they don't have to come to school. But although it is organized by the school through distance learning. And another part is weekend program. So meaning the out-of-school learners, if we try to call them in general out-of-school learners, they just need to come during weekend, because the assumption there was that the reason why they could not go to school is because they are either busy for employment or looking for income. So that's why the weekend and the night was specifically accommodated for the out-of-school learners, if it's school-based. However, for community-based, in this particular picture, the community-based, we have what we call distant teachers or mobile teachers. The teachers assigned by the regional education office will travel to the community wherein there is a registered out-of-school learners. So the teachers will travel to the community, because sometimes the problem is that the community is very far from school, something like that. And that's why the teachers themselves are the one traveling in order to meet the needs of the out-of-school learners. And additionally, the community-based is also very diverse and inclusive. For instance, later on I will show an example, but for now, it is regardless of what kind of community there is a suitable alternative learning system for them. If they are Catholic Christians, then the community leaders will work with the regional education office in order to establish alternative learning system. And what's interesting later on, I will show, is that In Mindanao, in the region of Muslims, you know that in Philippines, Muslims are 6%, which means we are part of the minority. But one of the very active faith-based organization in Bangsamoro region is actually Catholic faith-based organization, and they provide alternative education for young learners who are particularly from conflict areas. Next, please. So here is the data from the country survey regarding out-of-school children, youth, and adults. So what's interesting here is actually this published data sounds very positive. Like the title was, 4 out of 5 children are going to the school. But from my perspective, I try to be critical in analyzing this data. So it claims that 75% of the home-based household population are going to school, which means 25% are not going to school, which is a very large data, a very large amount of people. And in this particular instance, the reason why people, out-of-school learners are not going to school, we have 2 separate surveys based on 2017 and 2022. And interestingly, the previous presenters have also shared that the top 3 reason is the lack of interest. When the survey or the census was asking them, why are you not going to school? And they just lack interest in going to school. And some of them will say, how much does a college graduate earns? This salary. Nah, I can just earn that in another way, something like that. And that discourages them from participating in formal education system. Sometimes they even say, according to the interview based on this study, that they will say, I can just go to the market and sell something, earn my daily wages through that way, and I don't have to spend years go to school. They will even teach you about opportunity cost, the trade-off, or something like that. And in another instance, one of the top 2 in the 2022 was the college completion and employment was the top 2 reasons, which is a positive sign. However, in 2017, early marriage and teenage pregnancy are the top reason for school dropouts in the context of Philippines. Next, please. So on another data, we will see here some of the key issues identified by Education Commission based on the recent evaluation of the Philippine National Education System. So we can see here that on the figure 14, the targeted out-of-school learners and the actually enrolled out-of-school youth or out-of-school learners, there's a huge disparity. For example, in region 4A at the top, there's about 52,427 enrolled, but the other 761,000 are not enrolled, meaning they have identified that around 700,000 are the target populations of out-of-school learners. However, not every one of them was able to access, and later on, we will find out why. But if you try to see here, one of the things that you can identify is that the closer you are to the capital region, the more access you have for out-of-school opportunities. And accordingly, the implementation of the ALS remains underfunded, underprioritized, and poorly integrated into the broader education system. Because if you try to take a look at the budget itself, during the initial study on 2024 by the same commission, the educational guideline for budget was flat rate, meaning regardless of which region it is, they have the same subsidy. So it does not make any sense because there's a disparity on the capability of different regions. Like if you are from capital and if you are from at the edge of the country, you have the same subsidy for the same program. So that's why they were trying to advocate to make it depend on per capita or the number of out-of-school learners for per region. Next, please. So in this particular data, we will see that this is about the CLC, because one of the highlights of the recent study about out-of-school or alternative learning system was that they have identified that community have a very strong factor to play in order to improve alternative education. Because the schools, the formal schools, are already having a problem dealing with over-enrollment. And that's why they want to tap into the other infrastructure and resources that can be provided by the community themselves. However, the problem was they have identified 5 types of CLC. And of all community-based alternative education provider, only a very tiny amount meet the basic standard that can actually provide a quality alternative education system. And that's also the problem. For instance, in 2026, the problem was, again, making the fiscal budgeting guideline more specific in order to meet the programs that was to be targeted. Next, please. So on another study conducted by the Philippine Development Study, which is the socio-economic policy think tank of the country, the key challenges are echoed the same with the findings of Educational Commission, which is the problem of infrastructure and resources. Because of over 60% of community-based alternative education provider, they do not meet the standards. And the second or the top 2 major issue is teaching capacity. The problem is that, according to this study, it is harder for teachers to teach alternative education rather than formal schooling. Why? Because they are expected to handle diverse learners in one particular level of schooling. Like, for example, in primary education, you could have a very diverse age range from 8 to 15 years old. For junior high school and similarly to senior high school, you could also have the same problem of age range. And another aspect is they are also expected to be master of everything. Like, they are expected to teach children from different communities, children from conflicted areas, and even children with special needs are also expected to be handled by the teachers of this particular area. However, there is no specific training for the teachers. So this is also another issue. And another thing that I can see is the digital divide. Because, like we said earlier, one of the programs is the Open Junior High School and Open Senior High School. However, the capacity of the Filipinos to meet this kind of requirement still needs further improvement. Next, please. So this is the program outcome. So the PIDS, or the Philippine Development Study, they try to find out what is the outcome of the ALS. So the basic education covers from kinder to grade 12, or kindergarten to senior high school, and they try to find out what happens to the completers after they finish the alternative learning education. So some of them, it is actually almost tied. 50% are employed, so meaning they do not proceed to higher education after finishing senior high school. And the other are also trying to continue to further higher education. So the trajectory is captured in Table 9%, a nuanced picture of program effectiveness in facilitating transitions to employment and further education. So this basically try to accommodate the idea that people from alternative learning system, they can have the opportunity to pursue further studies. And next, please. So these are some of the highlights of the government programs. So the alternative learning system also includes providing programs for those people deprived of liberty, meaning people in jail are also provided with the alternative education, because like earlier we said that even adults, they deserve educational opportunities later on. And regarding the out-of-school children, especially those children in conflict with the law, they are also being provided alternative education system with the idea that hopefully, since they are still school-aged children, they can still be reintegrated into formal schooling later on. So that's why the Department of Education and Department of Social Welfare and Development, they made collaboration in order to provide these children with educational opportunities, and this is one of the recent achievement of that program. From the bottom picture, we can see children in conflict with the law, meaning they have a pending criminal cases, and this is the achieved graduation later on.
Okay.
Next, please. So this is the last two slides. So, like the last second slide. Okay. The non-government programs, like I said earlier, it is very important for alternative education ecosystem to have collaboration not just with other government agencies, but also non-government organization, particularly faith-based organization at the top, and Save the Children, which is a civil society organization, and another civil society, they called it Kaliskwela, which means they buy or they try to collaborate with mobile services providers, and they bring education, alternative education, accredited by the Department of Education, meaning students, children who studied at this mobile, at the bottom part, they are part of the equivalency program of the learning system, which means even if they do not go to school, they just go to this car, they can get certification for that. Last, please. So the flexible education in the Philippines, key takeaways. The first is access. ALS has expanded educational opportunities for learners, and it also has flexibility, meaning learning can take place anywhere, schools, communities, even correctional facilities, and also the importance of partnership, government to government or government to NGO, and the quality. However, the challenges related to funding infrastructure are actually the same in the Southeast Asia. But the most important part for some of these findings is that it is a pathway that can lead to further education, training, and hopefully employment. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Brother Iksan Zaman, for the very thoughtful presentation, and also you share with us about the case of the Philippines. The similarity of Indonesia and also the Philippines is about how the government provide the alternative education, as you mentioned about the importance of community-based education, as we do have in Indonesia, and also about the issue on, you mentioned about the technology divide and also digital gap, as Pak Alpha very often mentioned about this issue in the public discourse and discussion. We still have about just 10 minutes for Q&A, and I will open to the floors. I will take maybe 2 or 3, if within 10 minutes we can do it. Please, in the middle and in the bottom. Maybe one female student, or because all 3 are male students. Any? Okay, I will take first all 3 male students. In the middle first, please. Very straightforward statement and questions.
Okay, thank you. My name is Furqan from PhD of Education, second batch. Talking about outing school students, I compared Philippines and also Indonesia. Actually, we're almost the same, having some programs like formal schools and also schools community. What I'm trying to think about, I work as assessor Ban PDM. I visited many schools, including PKBM. We have packet A, packet B, packet C. What I found from my visit to the schools, mostly they use the same curriculum as the formal schools for the PKBM. And it's quite challenging for the PKBM to implement the same curriculum, like Curriculum Merdeka, to the those who join packet A, packet B, and packet C. To be honest, if we see the programs, actually we have a lot of programs to cope with the issues of siswa putus sekolah, but the problems is about the implementations in the field. So what actually the challenge is, I didn't find any discussion on your presentations about the curriculum adaptations on that school, because if they are forced to employ the same curriculum like formal school, I'm not sure those who are involved in packet A, packet B, packet C can also join the class effectively. So do we have a specific curriculum to be employed by the community or the PKBM or packet A, packet B, or packet C in Indonesia? This is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And from the, yes, please.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Pak Ami. My name is Ridwan. I'm also from PhD program of Faculty of Education, batch 4. My question, actually, if the time is not limited, I initially want to ask to several presenter. However, I try to ask quite general questions. How to distribute, the first one is how to distribute the ownership of responsibility. Is it, who is the most responsible to take care of this out of school children? And if the problem is the motivations of the children and the unawareness of their parents, so how can we deal with that? Otherwise, despite the program that we have, the involvement of technology, the flexibility of the curriculum and the services, but how if the problem is the unawareness of the parents and unmotivated students? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the last gentleman in the back, please.
I am Akib from MA Political Science. Actually, my question is more practical, because back in 2019, when I was part of this kind of project from British Council in my country, Pakistan, so we were part of one NGO and we were working to enroll out our school children. But the thing is that I don't know how people or the NGOs are working here, but the thing is that when they are granted for the project like to enroll out of school children, what they really do, they will just go to school and they will ask a teacher to give data of new admission, like the students who are new enrolled in the school, they were just getting data and they were mentioning that we have enrolled these all students from through our project. So we see there are many students, they are out of school children, but when government or any kind of NGO like British Council is granting the project to the NGOs or to the people, they really don't do work how we have to do to enroll out of school children. So how do you see this kind of issue which is granted to the NGOs type of people or something, like when they don't do the work to enroll out of school children, but they just try to raise the funds, like how in nowadays in different kind of projects like climate change or others, the NGOs are just trying to raise the fund to earn or something. So in the same, the issue of out of school children, something is happening like this. So how do you see this issue?
Okay, thank you. And as we are running out of time, and I would like to invite all the 5 speakers to share about 1.5 minutes sharp to respond all the questions raised by the gentleman from the floors. Yes, to Annie first.
Yes, thank you for the questions. I think in relation to the first questions, do PKBM or non-formal education equivalency program has a specific curriculum? As some of us knows that non-formal education curriculum is broadly aligned with the curriculum of formal education. The difference, the main difference are in the learning modality and duration of learning. In many non-formal education, PKBM, the learning activities mainly take place during weekend, since they cater, for example, many learners who already working. Yes, so the main difference is in the learning modality and duration of learning. In addition to academic subjects, actually non-formal education is also focusing on providing skills development program, which is characterized based on the learners' needs. However, we should admit that at least based on UNICEF study conducted on non-formal education implementation in Indonesia, some non-formal education centers focus more on academic skills rather than the life skills because of their limited resource. So this is one of the main challenge to kind of really making non-formal education learning modality following actually the policy already defined by the government, and at the same time following the characteristic and needs of the learners. NFA centers also facing challenge with regard to adjusting the learning styles. As mentioned by our colleagues from the Philippines, IHSAN, NFL centers face different types of learner, from children to young people to adults, and combined with many other challenges with regard to infrastructure, limited human resource, this that making quality learning in non-formal education is still, I can say, a significant challenge for Indonesia. On the second questions on how to distribute the ownership of responsibility to address out-of-school children. Well, out-of-school children is actually the business of everybody, because there are so many factors from demand and supply sides making children out of school. And these factors related also to many issues, from socio-cultural factors, economic factors, which is the responsibility or also of different government institutions. So what we encourage actually through, for example, the establishment of the national strategy on out-of-school children and also the presidential regulation on out-of-school children is multi-sectoral, integrated and structured intervention to address the issues. Because returning children to schools is one thing, but addressing the root causes that making them out of school is another thing. And this may continue despite the children already returned to school. And the characters of the reasons, child marriage, for example, it is related to Women and Child Protection Empowerment Office, economic related to child labor, for example, related to the Ministry or the Office of Manpower. So this shows that it is something that needs to be done collaboratively and also involving, I think, strong community engagement. To create demand and also improve understanding and perspective from community side about the importance of children continuing and completing at least until upper secondary education. On the third question, I didn't really get it, Pak Ami.
Yeah, actually,
So
Pak,
I will hand over
Yeah,
to
okay.
other colleagues to respond. Thank you.
Pak Anies or Bu Chaya will respond, and you can respond that the question that has not been answered by Bu Eni.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe I just respond once from you for your answer for your question. Maybe it not related with all your question. I will tell about equivalent or flexible education in Islamic schools like pesantren. In pesantren there is specific curriculum, and the other model about PKPM. It's called by Pendidikan Kesetaraan Pondok Pesantren Salafiyah. We know paket A, paket B, paket C. In pesantren, we know about pendidikan kesetaraan Pondok Pesantren Salafiyah. All day the student study Islamic book, or we say yellow book, kitab kuning. Yellow book, it's been maybe religion reference, Turas, Kutubut Turas, all day. So they take a national curriculum in one time, approach the examination, last examination. But every day, every time they study, reading, reciting Quran, study a yellow book or Islamic books. They just learn national curriculum approaching the last examination. The Santri say that national curriculum it's not important in their opinion. So he learn the national curriculum just for the goals to get ijazah, certification, just to get certification, so we can use that certificate to approve work, to find job and that. It's in the pesantren. Curriculum determined by the leader of pesantren, not by government. I think that's I can tell in front of you
Okay.
about Islamic education.
Thank you, Pak Anies. And now, Ibu Chaya, do you have any comments and response? Oh, she has been out already. Okay, then Bu Esi, please.
Thank you for the questions. So maybe I just would like to add a little from the ideas that have been mentioned before by Bu Eni, Anies. From the first questions regarding specific curriculum to be implemented in equivalent education. Well, actually, we as the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Educations have a responsibility to formulate the general kind of like quote-unquote general guidance on how regarding national curriculum. And actually, we have a policy that the national curriculum actually can be implemented more contextualized to the local context and local needs, but yet we acutely aware that this implementation still face challenges because as we have mentioned before that there are varied capacities in local authorities, in local actors. So yeah, part of our recommendation, because in our ministry we have specific units in regions, in some regions in Indonesia. We hope we can have more capacity building together with them, so we can give the local authorities or local stakeholders more capacity on how to implement curriculum, national curriculum or curriculum, school curriculum that could align with their context and needs. That's for the first questions. And the second questions, well, it's a very interesting questions. The second questions, I believe that it should be started as a discourse like this. I think, first of all, if we don't discuss about it, how do we know that we have that issue? And then after we discuss about it, we have to collaborate and engage relevant stakeholders and how we can distribute more actionable roles, or we can engage more targeted or relevant stakeholders. Well, actually by those discussion, we can like give such a feedbacks and we can give such ideas regarding the issue. And then, well, back to the national regulatory frameworks, in that specific regulation actually have been, directs who's doing what in what specific issue. And I think other than that, like have some measurable goals. I think that also need to be considered, because in Indonesia, I think sometimes we think too grand of some issues or certain issues, but sometimes we lack of capacity on how to operationalize or make it like more chunk or sizable bite to make it more practice in the field. So, for example, regarding out-of-school children, because we have many reasons, because there are like, for example, from our ministry, we have list like more than 20 reasons why children becoming out-of-school children. Well, for this year, for example, we can just prioritize some reasons, for example, 3 or 5, because based on the study, maybe those, like I've just shared before, the 3 reasons that have been shown before could be the reasons that could be prioritized in the discussion or the role distribution. And for the third question, I'm so sorry, I've not really catch your questions. Maybe if you don't mind to reply your questions before, I'm so sorry.
Just respond the things that you are able to respond to the questions. Okay, then Iksan.
Thank you so much. If I'm not mistaken, the order of the questions are about curriculum alignment and governance and accountability. Regarding the curriculum alignment from the Philippine context, they need to be aligned to the national curriculum because they need to meet the competency in order for them to proceed to higher education or in order for them to get a certification for employment. So regardless of it's school-based or community-based, regardless of whichever alternative education provider, they need to align to the national curriculum because the purpose is for them to have a position in the society. And one of that is to have a certificate or attainments. And regarding the governance, the issue of governance has also been tackled by the institutionalization of flexible learning or alternative education. It's either school-based or community-based. If it's school-based, the governance primarily is handled by the local school board, meaning the board of trustees or the officials of the school, whichever school that is providing the flexible learning option. For the community-based, the governance of that flexible learning primarily handled by the local executives. The local executives is defined by the constitution or the law as either the village heads, the mayor, the city leader, or the provincial leader. So regardless of which community provided that flexible learning, the governance is handled by those executives. So it can be as small as village leader or as big as provincial leader. They are the one who are handling the governance of the alternative education. As for the accountability concern raised by the gentleman, regarding that, the issue is about actually the government wants to encourage as much NGO and CSO to participate in providing flexible learning as much as possible, because like we have established earlier, the capacity of formal school infrastructures is already being exhausted beyond its limit. And that's why if there are other resources or infrastructure that can be utilized in order to provide this flexible learning, then they encourage to do that as much as possible. And that's why even the government provide incentives. They need to incentivize private individuals, private organizations in order to participate, like providing tax incentives. So the more or the higher you spend in providing flexible learning to the citizens, the more tax incentives that you can gain. However, the tax incentives has its own measures. So meaning that it will be audited, it will undergo some systematic probing. So I think that answers the question of the three gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Iksan. With final comment from Iksan, then we can conclude our panel for today, and I will not summarize all the discussion of for today, and just maybe Pak Alpha, maybe if you have some few words, or just we can finish our discussion. Okay, then we can conclude our discussion by, I will not summarize all the discussion, but taking some 3 or 4 notes about the importance of addressing the issue of out-of-school children, because it has become the global concerns, and each country has taken this issue very seriously, and all the policy intervention programs also have already been put on the planning document of any governments across the world. And addressing the main cause of out-of-school children is also important, mostly about economic affairs, about financial difficulties, and also social and cultural problems. And any regulation frameworks for policy intervention has already been taken place, and we are thankful to all the speakers for the very thoughtful presentation. And by that, we conclude our discussion for today. Have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, for all the panelists, maybe all the panelists can come forward to take a pictures together. And also for all participants who are in the hall, please come down forward so we can take a picture together before doing the closing for our today's afternoon program. So please everyone to come forward to take a picture together. And thank you, Dr. Amih Al-Humami, PhD, and our distinguished panelists for the insightful and enriching discussions on flexible education for out-of-school children in Indonesia and global perspective. Thank you once again to everyone who participated in the session. And today's discussions have highlighted the importance of ensuring inclusive and flexible educational opportunities for out-of-school children. We hope the insight, experiences, and best practices shared throughout this event will inspire continued collaborations and meaningful action toward achieving educations for all. On behalf of the organizing committee, thank you for your presence, engagement, and support in making this event a success. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rahayu, and have a pleasant day. Please, for all the